Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow. For those of you who do not know me, I am a content curator on YouTube and a streamer on Twitch. I try to do my best in order to make sure that people have a good place to go in order to talk about issues and to just have a good time without fear of being ridiculed or fear of being ostracized for an opinion they may have. And also to get their mind off of certain things for a while. I would like to think that I do that, but there are some times that I have failed in that regard, and we'll get to those shortly. This video is going to be a couple things. One is going to have to do with a few of the things that have came up recently, and then an issue that I think we need to address as far as Discord is concerned. For those of you who do not know what Discord is, I will inform you of that in just a moment. First of all, to the issues surrounding myself and some of the things that have came up lately. As I have said countless times, and I do believe that it bears repeating, I suffer from a case of anxiety and depression. This is something that is not pleasant for me to talk about. This is not something that I would think would be pleasant for anybody to really talk about, and it is something that unfortunately has led to myself doing a few things that many people would see as not wise, let's put it that way, and let's put it in a way that is more or less positive for the sake of this video. I would like to think that I have it under control, but sometimes I do fail, and sometimes it causes me to act upon certain things which I believe are going on when in fact nothing of the case is actually happening. This is something that I believe a lot of people do suffer from time to time, with generalized anxiety disorder, and yes, I had considered going to a psychiatrist or a counselor in order to figure out what is going on. But in the American healthcare system, that is a rather difficult thing to do when you are not financially secure. However, recently I have decided to go to see somebody to figure out what exactly is causing all this. This has been happening for me for a long time, and I've been getting tired of feeling the way that I do. Unfortunately, this has caused me to make some people uncomfortable within my stay here on YouTube and on Twitch and other places. And any sane person who has gone through this and has suffered through anxiety and has acted out upon their fears and their emotions could safely tell you that it is not something they intend to have happen upon themselves. I would think any person who has lived with somebody who has gone through anxiety will tell you that they don't intend to cause any harm or any ill will on anybody. However, they do have to be calmed down from time to time because they sometimes have their panic attacks take hold, and sometimes they have to deal with it in a sort of way that they know how to get through it. Sometimes the choices they take are wiser than others, and in my case, sometimes the choices that I made have not been wise. This is something that has made a lot of people feel uncomfortable around me, and to that extent, I want to express my dearest apologies. I don't know how much is enough. I don't know if anything is going to be, well, enough because of what exactly could have been said or has been said. If there has been anybody who is watching this right now and has been a victim of this from me, or from anybody actually who has actually dealt through anxiety, then there is a degree of apologies that need to be said. Let it be known that anxiety is a tough animal to deal with, and it is something that is still being researched even today. Mental issues have not been treated kindly in the realm of research in medical development, and it is something that we still need to talk about, still need to deal with. It is never my intention at all to make someone feel uncomfortable when talking to me, either in public or in private. It is never my intention to cause any ill will on anybody, and this is a more formal way of me talking, but I have thought about this for about a month, and in a way I have more or less become a hermit because of some of the things that have happened recently. And that is more or less the main subject of this video. If you do not know what Discord is probably one of the fastest growing chat clients on the web right now. It is known to be a chat room for gamers, which they can have a free voice chat, a free text chat a la Skype, or even TeamSpeak, and it is free, and to some extent it is as stable as it can be right moment. At the moment, it still has its bugs, it still has its glitches, and I'm going to tell you of a major one that they need to address here in just a moment. However, it has garnered a lot of attention and a lot of popularity because of how stable it can be and how good and free it actually is. It has gotten a lot of attention through the media, through critics, and through gamers alike. So it is no surprise that a lot of people use it. And it's really easy to make a server. All you have to do is click a plus button at the end of your server list, and you can decide whether to join a server that has already been established or to create your own. It is something that is extremely easy to do. You don't have to have any sort of coding knowledge in order to make one. It is just there for you. And there are a lot of add-ons that you can actually use in order to make your server even more enjoyable. However, there is a huge downside to this. There is a major downside. And I'm going to talk to you about one major aspect of this that Discord must address, or else they're going to receive a ton of problems down the road. One of the major criticisms about Discord is its private messaging system. You're able to message privately a user on Discord, regardless of if you are on the same servers or not. The private messaging system is a little wonky, and let me tell you why. One, you are allowed to delete any private message that you have on your end. You can, one at a time, choose to say, hey, I did not mean to say that, and then go ahead and either delete it entirely and seemingly without a trace of it even existing, or to edit it and to say that you've never said what you actually said at all. This will obviously lead to some major issues if there is no hard log on your computer, which, needless to say, there is not. I have looked and looked and looked on my local files on Discord, and there is no recollection of any sort of hard log in order to tell whether or not you deleted something or not. Now, this is done because of privacy issues. They want to make sure that if you delete something, then it is more or less gone forever. That you cannot just say, hey, that's what they said, that's what they said. But the downside to this is something that I need to discuss with you. A month ago, I encountered this particular message that someone had claimed that I had sent to them. Now, I have edited out a couple of things, more or less the people who were brought up in this message, besides two particular streamers that I have to bring up because of the context of this, and I need to explain to people why this did not come from me. And for right now, we're not going to worry about the individual who this was apparently sent to. So for now, let's just focus on the actual message itself. And I am going to just focus on this one message as opposed to anything else that might be out there, because this is the only one that was actually shown to me, and thus this is the only one that I know that I can respond to. This does not mean that there's no other messages out there. This just saying this is the only one I know about. Here's the thing. I don't even have to mention the morality inconsistencies that are here and grammatically how I word certain things. I don't even have to get into anything else. The way that your and self is to words, I would never do that. The way that donating is misspelled in the third paragraph. You could probably notice that something is not right in this whole thing. The way that this is structured. It is absolutely unfathomable that I would write something this grammatically incorrect. However, there are other aspects of this whole message that might strike someone as pretty odd. And that's why I wanted to leave in the two particular streamers that were mentioned of Links and Mushies. Before I saw this message, I did not know who these people even were. I still don't know who these people even are. I don't know anything about them. I don't have any recollection of them even existing. This is probably the biggest downfall of this, after the odd grammar that the person who astroturfed this seems to use. This is not going to be a knock on this person or these people either. It is just the notion that I don't know them. I cannot say one way or the other because I don't know who they are. And I'm pretty sure somebody is going to come and say, oh, you don't know who they are? You don't know who Links and Mushies are? You have no idea who they are? You call yourself a content creator and don't know who they are? No, there's a lot of people I don't know anything about. I know who Total Biscuit is. I know who PewDiePie is. I know who Jesse Cox, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye. I know who those people all are. Alpha Omega Sid. I know who James Rolfe is. I know who the Nostalgia Critic is. I know who all of those people are, but I don't know who Links and Mushies are. So if anybody wants to say that I should know who they are, then more power to them, but I do not know who these people are. Now, sadly, this particular message had gotten the rounds and people had seen it and had thought that I had been the one who had posted it because of past issues with my anxiety and plus some jealousies that I have had in time. And again, that is something that I would have to curb myself. That's something that is my responsibility and something that I would have to address. However, this has also made a few people really squeamish about believing me and supporting me. This has made a lot of people take a second look at what exactly I have been saying as far as being positive about my outlook. And let's be quite honest, it has made me turn into a sort of hermit, which I have more or less shut down in the past month. I have not created even a fourth of the videos that I usually make, and let's not even get into my streaming schedule or anything like that. However, this might turn around because over the past couple of weeks, I have waited for a particular email to come into my inbox. That would be from the Discord abuse team. I had written an email to them stating the situation and why I know this had nothing to do with me sending anything like this to the person who received it. And there are a couple of possibilities that I listed. One, that this did not come from me at all, and someone astroturfed this to make it seem like it was from me, and we will get to that in just a second. That's one of the major flaws I want to get to as far as Discord is concerned. 2, my account was compromised and someone tried to use my account as a sort of way to get some jollies out of them. Or 3, they have absolutely no hard log of what was deleted and what was not. And in that case, is going to come down to the other major problem that Discord has. Now, if this was definitely astroturfed by whoever it was, then let me be quite honest with you. It would be much easier for you to come out and admit that this was astroturfed, that you were the one who have done this, whoever it might be. If you wait for the Discord abuse team to come back, and believe me, they did come back and said that initial investigation says that I did not send this, but it could be deleted, and so they needed the IP of my primary methods of connecting to Discord, and they have that information and they are still pouring on it. I do realize it's going to take a while, but if you are the one who astroturfed this, then you have a chance to save yourself a whole lot more heartache than it would be dead if they found out about it and it was exposed through other means. Let it be known that I'm going to do whatever is in my power to prove my innocence here. I am going to do all I can. And believe me, you did not fool a single person. Yeah, there are people who have let their emotions take control, and I do not blame them. However, be it as it may, you did not fool a single person. People are aware that this did not come from me. And let me be quite honest with you, once it is found out, I'm going to do all that is within my power in order to expose that information. I am going to make sure that there is no doubt in anybody's mind that Discord was the ones that found out about it. And from what they have asked of me through the IP addresses of the primary ways I connect through Discord, they seem to have a way to check these things, to check through deleted messages in order to find out what was and what wasn't said, though it is, again, probably one of the most complicated processes I probably have ever seen, and it shouldn't be as complicated as this is currently. But from what I am gathering and what they are saying, yes, they do have a way And yes, even though it might take a little bit of time and has been taking a lot of time actually, I am being assured that they are working diligently in order to investigate this matter. You can no doubt see that the date on this is only today at 12:10 a.m. No exact date. And yes, I do have a window as to when this was supposedly sent because of context from my personal conversations with the person, in which certain things did come up, in which would put when this could have possibly been coming into context. So yes, if you are the person who came up with this, for whatever reason, do yourself a favor and just confess to the situation. Confess to the wrongdoing, because it would do you a whole lot more good if you came out and admitted it, instead of if it was exposed in other means. However, this is a microcosm of a much bigger issue right now in Discord. There is really no way for someone to prove that they did not send something such as this or anything else. And let's be quite honest, the one reason why I have to worry about this is because it is very easy for someone to fabricate a message on Discord. You know how many different videos I've seen of somebody exemplifying how to do things on Discord in that sort of sense without the usage of inspect element? There was at least 4 or 5 different videos all showing a method of how to do it using only Photoshop. You can see right now that I did blank out the names that I didn't have to necessarily bring up, but you can also notice that I use the exact same background colors that Discord uses. It is very easy to replicate those. And plus, it is very easy for someone to do this sort of thing. And assuming someone had it in for you to that extent, then all they really had to do was say, hey, you said this, or you said that. Look, I got a screen cap of you saying this. And then you say, whoa, I never said this. Here is a picture of the actual conversation I had. But that leads to the other issue, that you can easily delete a private message on Discord and have it disappear without a trace, without any way for you in order to retrieve what it is you deleted in order to prove your innocence. Yes, there is an issue of privacy in a way, but at the same time, if something like this did come up, or someone said, hey, you sent me a death threat and then you deleted it, I'm going to the authorities, and then you try to prove your innocence, say, hey, I never did that sort of thing, guess what? You have no way to prove your innocence. And if Discord has no hard logs that you even sent anything or you did not send anything, then that is going to be a huge problem. There's going to be a huge hurdle that you need to cross, provided that you have any means to cross over it. And this gets even worse still, because then you get into the whole nature of cyberbullying, and this is something that has affected so many people on so many levels in so many ways. And the impersonation act of cyberbullying is something that is not very well known. However, let's be quite honest, I have a good support network that has believed me even without any proof, even when I really have no proof to give to them because of the manner that Discord does these things. And even then, this situation, the situation that I am currently in, has led me into a state of despair, a state of depression, and a state of anxiety. It took so many people in order to get me out of it even to this point. But in retrospect, I am a lucky person. But what about the people who don't have that? What if this happened to somebody who didn't have that social network, who didn't have those kinds of friends, who didn't have those kinds of people that they could turn to when something like this had happened to them? The risk of depression, the risk of anxiety, the risk of suicide comes to mind. And be quite honest with you, this is compounded so many ways by the utter notion that Discord never logs anything into your personal computer. It doesn't log anything. If you delete something, it is gone forever. So you can thereby either fabricate evidence or to delete evidence to the contrary, and no one will know that anything had even happened. If they try to find out what caused somebody to commit suicide, and they see the Discord and they don't see anything to the cause of what is going on because somebody decided to delete it when they found out that somebody had committed suicide when they were bullying somebody, and then not only that, to show absolutely no remorse for their actions while trying to hide that they were doing something abhorrent and immoral and just flat out wrong. And then their parents, assuming that this was a teen that this was happening to, their parents would not be able to prove to any bit of authorities that anything was even going on because of how Discord is handling this stuff. Remember, companies and businesses as a whole rarely want to get involved in any of this. They rarely want to tackle this. They rarely want to even say that this is even an issue or this even happens in their jurisdiction. As it is, imagine if someone had the ability on those sites, if someone had the ability on AOL Instant Messenger or on Facebook or on Twitter to completely delete forever the tweet in question or the post in question without even a hint of a trace anywhere at any sort of junction that anything even happened, and it caused someone to commit suicide, and you had no way to prove to any authority figure that there was any sort of wrongdoing. This is Discord effectively letting cyber bullies covering their tracks. And I know that my anxiety has led me to do some, and don't get me started into ways that people can impersonate other people online. That is also a form of identity theft. People stealing your identity, and it is so easy for somebody else to do that on Discord. 10 times easier for someone to do that in Discord because of the stuff that I just showed you about how people showing other people how to do it through either Inspect Element or using Photoshop or even Paint. It is that easy to do. It is that easy to get the font. It is that easy to find out how many pixels you have to put everything to. And you could even change the timestamp that someone sent something to you through Inspect Element on Discord. You could do it through the desktop app. You don't have to go onto the web to do this. To use the Inspect Element feature on Discord. You don't have to do that at all. You just download the desktop app and put in the keyboard shortcut that it usually is. I think is Control-I. I'm not completely sure if it is or not. But if it is, that's all it takes. That is specifically all it takes for somebody to have even the slightest bit of coding knowledge and finding out where it is that you need to go to. And there you go. You have a form of identity theft. You have a form of cyberbullying. You have a form of an act that should not be easy for anyone to do. And yet this happens on so many levels at so many places, and it never really gets reported or it never really gets dealt with. And for Discord to have that easy of a platform for people to do that to, and then not only that, to be able to have them cover their tracks completely is mind-boggling. And yeah, we all do things and say things from time to time that we wish we hadn't said later on, and we do take back from time to time, but I'm talking about those kinds of people that will have a motive or a mindset to hurt somebody else in any sort of way, especially this sort of way, and then not even think about the consequences, or worse, treat the consequences as a reward. Treat someone else's dealings with depression or anxiety, or even, God forbid, them committing suicide as you winning the war, and you never showing any remorse. I would hate to fathom that being the case, but in some of these cases, they actually are. There are cases in which bullies will drive someone to commit suicide and then never show remorse for their actions. There are some that do, don't get me wrong, there are some that will show remorse for their actions, saying that they never intended for things to be taken that far, but there are just as many people, just as many bullies who have driven somebody to that extreme and then be proud of themselves for doing it, will wear it as a badge of honor. They will take it to their grave. They will take it to their jail cell. They will take it to wherever it is. And as I said, with identity theft, that is a felony. According to socialsafety.org, this is a Class C felony and can bring 2 to 8 years in jail and up to $10,000 in fines, depending on the harm that it inflicted. This is not a laughing matter. This is a very serious issue that needs to be dealt with. And for Discord to not act upon this and to make it so easy for people to do this to other people is, again, as I said, so mind-boggling and so abhorrent that it needs to be addressed immediately. This is something that is going to be a severe issue with Discord, and it is something that can kill Discord if it is not addressed soon. There needs to be a easier way for somebody to either watermark something in order to make sure that this is an authentic message that's coming from Discord, or something that came from somebody who is actually using Discord and not somebody who is fabricating anything, or Discord needs to provide someone with some kind of hard log so people will be able to prove their innocence, or for somebody else to prove someone else's guilt. Either way, Discord must address this, and they must address the easiness that it takes for someone in order to do something such as this. Whether it be to compromise an account, and yes, my accounts have been compromised before. My Steam account, my PSN account, my Yahoo Mail account, they have all been compromised before. I have had to change several different passwords in order to make sure no one else got to them, and to use two-factor authentication to make sure that no one else got into those accounts, and that is pretty scary to say the very least. Or for someone who was really feeling that cruel that day, or had a huge bone to pick with you, decided to do whatever they could in order to ruin your reputation. And let's be quite honest, this is something that would ruin someone's reputation. I've worked on this for 5 years. This is something that I've dreamed about. I have always envisioned myself being a sort of pundit. I have always envisioned myself being some sort of entertainer. I have always envisioned myself being something that will bring joy and prosperity to a lot of people. Maybe prosperity is a strong word in this sense, but you get the point. Fact of the matter is that I am not about to let somebody who either has nothing better to do with their life or has this much animosity for me for whatever reason they might have to pull this off. Think about if this was you. Think about if this was something that was directed at you, and if people were saying that you made this message. Obviously, it's going to be something that you might want to, no doubt, clear your name of. But right now, there's really no way outside of contacting Discord and waiting forever in order for them to even tell you whether or not they can even do anything about it to clear your name, especially if someone already has a misconception about you or has saw that you have a bit of a checkered history. Because what if someone actually did try to fabricate you, giving them a death threat and sending them to the authorities? You have no way in order to prove yourself otherwise. And in a civil or a criminal court case in which you would need evidence in order to back up or prove your innocence, if there is no hard log anywhere, not even in the Discord servers, then you know what? There is going to be a major problem in Discord, and people are going to leave it in droves, and I wouldn't blame them. So hopefully Discord does view this video. Hopefully people do view this video and tell Discord, hey, you really need to address this situation. This is not me trying to get out of anything other than, of course, the stuff that I didn't do. I'm not going to concede to something that I didn't say. I'm not going to concede to writing something that I never wrote. Hopefully the person that wrote this comes out and confesses to what they've done. I would assume people will forgive you if you were the better person and to come out and say, yes, this was me, because I had a problem with you for such and such, or something you have said. Let's discuss this instead of being found out about by the Discord abuse team and having a whole lot of other things that you need to explain. I want to thank every single person who has known that this was not me and has stuck up for me and has been a kind and friendly person in the wake of these issues. I plan on taking a bit more time off in order to get my psyche going again. But until next time, my name is JD Shadow, and that just happened.